All right, let's talk about Wonder Woman 1984. It's been a while since I did a movie review, but we're going to be on them once again. I do appreciate everybody for checking in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, bell icon button, and share the video. And Wonder Woman 1984, I wasn't expecting it to be 2 hours and 30 minutes long, whatever it was. A lot of people shitting on it. If you go to Google and put it in, they gave it 69%. IBMD, whatever it's called, gave it like 6 out of 10 or 5.9 out of 10. I actually liked it though, you know. I felt that they could have cut a large portion of the movie out and made it around hour 30, minute show. But there's gonna be some spoilers, and it started off good. Started off kind of surrounding around the stone or the object that grants your wishes, and the acting wasn't bad at all neither. I mean, it was good. It looked like Wonder Woman lost some weight from the first one. She looked thinner on this second movie than the first, but she was good, and it was pretty good. We started off her going to the mall, taking down some perps and this, that, and the third, but it really wasn't. It didn't have a climax in the movie. It wasn't the point. When you talk about the climax when the movie peaking with the most action and all that, you're really talking about the end of the movie when she fought old girl who turned into the Apex, and him saving his son. It like when you have a good movie, there's like a peak, a climax where it's like the peak. And usually the climax ain't supposed to be like at the end of the movie. The climax is supposed to be the height of the movie. And if you lose, Lion King as an example, the really fun part around the movie when you have fun is when Simba ran off and got with Timon and whatever the other dude's name was. That was the peak. You look at this movie, it wasn't no peak. They had actions when she was trying to, ask him where the stone was at or whatever it was called. And they, fighting through the tanks, and she finding out she human and she bleeding and all this. And basically, she didn't even know she granted a wish. They didn't even know the thing was real. They thought it was a replica. And old boy in the beginning said, "I want a coffee." He got a coffee. She wished for the pilot back from the first one because he had died. He came back, and once you used the stone or whatever it was to grant your wish, it granted your wish, but it took your greatest asset. And for her greatest asset was her powers of being Wonder Woman. Okay. So she had to wish old boy away, and I told y'all it was gonna be spoilers in the title. So it was good, and it was good to see old girl have her moments. From Saturday Night Live, she wanted to be like Diana. She didn't know Diana, Wonder Woman, had superpowers, and she wished to be like her, and basically became the op because she didn't want to renounce her wish. I mean, it was a lot of moments in the movie, but we look at the movie, it's like shaving the fat off a good piece of meat. You don't want too much fat. You want just enough fat on the meat. Just the facts. A little bit of it's a good thing. It was just too much fat on this movie. This movie legitimately could have been an hour, 30 minutes long. They just had some unnecessary dialogue. And then her meeting no girl and find out. It was some good fight scenes. But when I'm talking about fighting scenes as far as these movies, it's not a better fight movie, just hand-to-hand combat, than The Winter Soldier. I like The Winter Soldier over both Avengers. It wasn't long. It wasn't like supposed to be one of the greatest parts of Marvel, but it was just some of the greatest hand-to-hand combat, choreographed like you would see. And that's what you want to see. You want to see action hand-to-hand combat. You don't want to see all that talking and flying and loving. You want to see combat. In DC, they mastered it as of the Dark Knights and the Batman movies. And some dialogue is cool, but this movie just had too much unnecessary dialogue, But then again, it felt like a smush movie. It felt like it's really a sequel. It didn't have that fresh start Wonder Woman start. It didn't have that fresh start. It just seemed like it was a sequel. And that's the vibe this movie gave. Like it was just a throw-in sequel. It was like a filler. We just throwing this video out for it to be a filler. I'm not throwing this video out intending it's going to do this. A filler. The movie was a filler. It felt like a filler. It felt like the trilogy, they was going to come with it. You look at the end of the movie, the first Wonder Woman actually came back. It didn't have a feel that it was the peak or the climax of the Wonder Woman saga. It just seemed like it was a filler movie. A lot of second movies and trilogies are just filler movies. They don't really have too much direction. It just seemed like a movie. They got to give you a little information. So they could have made it a short. They could have made it a 30-minute movie short. So you get to the trilogy, And You know, it's like the Avengers Endgame and the Infinity War. They could have did it in 3 movies, but they smushed it in 2, and Endgame was just filled with so much filler stuff. So you could have took the Endgame and made it into a smush, a smush movie, a filler movie, but they didn't do that. Put 2 movies out. They knew it was a filler. You sat there forever watching the movie, and really the best part of that movie was the end. And you kind of feel like it's like the Endgame. If the Endgame would have took some of that dialogue in that movie and made it the second, it just came with the trilogy. And a lot of people wanted that way. But, it's hard to have a good sequel, to a trilogy, or, Fast and Furious. They own something I can't even pronounce. It's good, but you look at the movie, it really wasn't bad. And if it held my attention at this point in my life and I didn't keep picking up my phone, it was solid. People shitting on it. But I just think when people waste almost 3 hours of their life, they're going to have a hardcore opinion on it. I thought the movie was pretty dope. I liked it. Was it enough action in it? No, she had her moments. When she was running down the perp that was messing with the old girl in the mall, it just wasn't enough action. They take most of the dialogue off and replace it with action. It'd probably be one of the greater movies that people seen, early in this decade, but just too much dialogue. It wasn't a bad movie. It wasn't a movie where they're going to fire the director. It felt like a filler. Now, for a filler on a scale of 1 to 10, it probably was one of the better 7, 8 fillers that I've seen, but you just feel like it was a filler that was leading up to bringing the original Wonder Woman back. It felt like that. It didn't feel like a breath of fresh air. And when you try to mimic the success of the first, it's like an artist trying to mimic the success of his first album. It's hard to mimic that hunger, that success. You should always want to create something on its own foundation. When you talk about creating an album, you don't want it to sound like, I don't know, you don't want it to sound like Me Against the World 2. You want an album or a movie to feel like it's its own movie. Of course, you have to correlate some of the things from the first movie, but they should have went with it. They should have went a little bit different, And they probably should have followed the first script in this example. They should have had more action, but in my opinion, it wasn't the worst DC movie. The worst one I could I forget Justice League was terrible. They could have threw that out, because how the Marvel did it was they gave you Doctor Strange, when they gave you Iron Man movie, they kind of gave you a taste of everybody's story, how it fit in one. And with DC, you got the TV show for the Flash. After that, you got Aquaman. It's just DC got it made with Batman. They just got to figure out a way to make Superman great again. They got to find out a way to make Wonder Woman like Wonder Woman. The first one's probably one of the better upper echelon, movies. They got to find a way to make that again, But the Avengers was dope because it was more. I mean, excuse me, the Justice League was dope because it was more than just them. You know what I'm saying? But out of this movie, I didn't feel like I wasted my life watching it. It held my attention. It wasn't as bad, and I watched it. I didn't know it was 2 hours and 30 minutes long, but if I paid $10, whatever movies is these days, I wouldn't have felt gypped. It was solid. The first one was amazing. I mean, I guess it's the reverse, because the first Captain America was pretty good. It was more informative than the second one. I think Winter Soldier was the second one. This one kind of opposite. The first one was really good. It had a good balance of it being informative and action. But a lot of people don't understand the history of comics, even comic characters or superheroes, since they've been along since like the 50s and the 60s. So to me, I say it was a 6. It wasn't hit out the park, but I say out of 6 out of 10, I say it was a 6. It was a solid movie. It wasn't really boring. We expected more out of the movie. But I'm going to guess the villain wasn't strong enough. It's just for 2 hours and 30 minutes, you just didn't get enough of the guy that took the stone. You didn't get enough of him. You know what I'm saying? And then you got enough of the Apex old girl that was the geek, and what she lost was her kindness and her being, a good person. You got a lot of her, but we didn't get a lot of the dude who stole the stone. We needed more of him, and that probably could have helped as well too. But let me know what you guys think. Check out our movie review playlist Don't forget we on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can reach out if you have a business question, inquiry, sponsor, video request. All my social media links in the description. Faster way to reach me is Twitter, then Facebook, then Instagram. All my social media links there. Also got a Facebook group. You want to make a donation, Cash App CJ Good 313. That's in the description. PayPal link in the description as well. Appreciate the love, support. One time for the one time. We gone.